They don't want to reach out for help. They hate their parents. There's been a lot of trauma, whether it's being abandoned by a parent or, depression or losses or whatever is going on. In general, how do you help work through with a teen, how to get through that anger?
By teaching them coping skills.
Yeah.
One thing is, I noticed with a lot of the teens, they're quick to react. They don't slow down.
Yep.
So getting them in the habit to slow yourself down, taking more deep breaths instead of shallow breaths.
Welcome to Journey to Joy Live, a podcast to promote wellness, resilience, and joy while providing mental health awareness and breaking down the stigma of mental illness in the Black community. I'm your host, Dr. Enjoy, and today I bring to you episode 55, Young, Black, and Angry. And I have a nice guest here today, Lightworker Wayne. Can you tell everybody who you are? I'm so glad to have you.
Hey, let's get it. So that's a common phrase that most people know me as:
Mhm.
a motivator, a
Awesome.
educator, um, and a light being
Ooh.
that's just providing healing to the people. So to put it simply, I work with a lot of youth, young
Mhm.
men, as far as with counseling, mental
Mhm.
health, addressing the anxiety, the depression, the
Yeah.
anger, teaching conflict resolution skills,
Oh.
teaching how to raise self-esteem, assisting in 6 areas. They're physical, mental, emotional, financial, social, and spiritual.
Awesome.
All of these are key areas that a young man has to have some growth in to be a productive, strong man in this
Uh-huh.
society.
That is fantastic. So you said 6, right? You said physical, mental, emotional, financial, spiritual, and what was the other one?
Social.
Social. I keep
Social.
seeing these pop up. And you know what? Lightworker Wayne, I've actually been talking about these different facets or crucial areas of health myself because I'm coming out with a journal, which is going to actually
Mhm.
help people focus on their physical health, emotional health, financial health, social health. And there's another one as well. Well, basically the mental health, of course. So it's just been coming up a lot where we really need to focus on all these areas of our health. So how do you implement these or talk about these with youth?
So I implement them. First of all, anytime you're dealing with the youth, you got to establish some trust, comfort, right?
Hmm.
So how you do that? Well, at least how I do that is I enter their world.
Yep.
Basically, the things that they're into. Um, it was in God's alignment. Um, a lot of these kids are into Japanese anime,
Hmm.
superheroes, comic books.
Yeah.
Back when I was their age, it was shun and it wasn't cool. And I got
Yeah.
bullied and teased a lot, right? So the very same thing I got bullied and teased a lot that made me an outcast
Mhm.
is now the very same thing that I use to build the bridge
Right.
for them. So usually we'll start off with conversations talking about Dragon Ball Z, talking about when Goku fought Frieza when he first turned Super Saiyan, and then we'll talk about Demon Slayer, talk about some other animes. Through there, I'm building that rapport.
That's
And once
good.
I build a rapport with them, then I start implementing lessons through
Mhm.
their favorite anime or cartoons.
That's real good.
Uh, so for example,
Mhm.
right? If I'm teaching a concept about overgeneralization
Mhm.
that stems from our mental,
Yep.
it's a character from Dragon Ball Z named Frieza, one of the villains,
Yeah.
that overgeneralize the heroes
Ooh.
because they're a particular alien race called Saiyans.
Mhm.
So he overgeneralized them to where he becomes racist, or he
Mm.
makes racist remarks to them. So I use that for them to understand better about overgeneralizing.
That's great.
So so from that lesson, I'm able to expand on and let them know, okay, so you don't want to overgeneralize every cop. Not every cop is a bad guy. Not every
Correct.
authority figure or judge wants to lock you up, right?
That's real good.
So you see how I built that bridge?
That's
And now,
you did, yeah, exactly.
yeah. And that
That's
really
really
is
good because
it.
as we're talking about young, black, and angry, that's literally one of the things that Black people in general, but we're talking about young Black people, that they're angry about, like thinking the police are gonna do something, and maybe this police officer is trying to help out. So that's a really good one because we can tend to overgeneralize a lot. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow. What ages do you work with again? Oh, no, you set up to, you do young. Well, I think this was before we were recording. You're telling me what ages you see. So what ages do you work with? Tell the audience.
Yes, from 7 all the way up to young adults. But my
Mhm.
niche is teenagers and young adults.
Yeah.
I'm really able to relate to them because I get it.
Mhm.
They want to find who they are. They want to be cool. They
Mhm.
want to fit in. And a lot of the stuff that I just mentioned, a lot of the
Yeah.
media content, the anime, that's generally what they're watching at that age.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to get into that and learn it for myself because I know with the sports, I try to reach rapport with my patients with that at least, talking about LeBron or NBA or football and things like that. So it seems
Yeah.
to work out. But anime, I don't know so much about that myself. So it would be nice to help with rapport. Yeah.
well,
That's
well,
really
well,
that's important. Hmm?
yeah. It will give you a lot of cool points.
Exactly. That's how I feel when I start talking about the sports. I'm like, oh, they're gonna think I'm cool. At least that's how I think.
Yeah.
They're probably just like, whatever, you don't know what you're talking about. I could probably scratch the surface, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We gotta reach our kids where they are. And I know I bring myself, I don't act a certain way. You have to bring yourself when it's time to talk to these kids.
Uh,
Now, have you had situations with these kids where they're angry and they don't even want to talk to you? What do they tend to be angry about? And how have you helped?
yes, I have had situations. Now, it doesn't work for every kid.
Yeah.
Some kids have already made their mind. I remember one kid, he got out of juvie, he's 15 years old. And while he was in juvie, oh, he was the sweetest kid.
Mhm.
Yes, sir, yeah, yeah. As soon
Oh.
as he got out, he started cussing me out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, he started cussing me out. His family dynamic wasn't stable. And ultimately, I lost contact with him. He didn't keep his phone on, and the mom had to really just kind of withdraw herself because she had other kids, and he was affecting the other kids, and he didn't want to listen. So, some instances, sometimes some of them have to learn through the hardship, and hopefully, it's
Yeah,
not too late. But
exactly.
for some of them that are just angry, right?
Uh-huh.
And some of them that are more open, I give them breaks, give them timeouts, I let them process, I let them I let them decompress, right? And then we'll openly talk about it. Openly talk about the situation that makes them mad. Sometimes it's things with their parents, things with their peers.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes they're frustrated because they want to hurry up and be an adult and do adult things. And,
Be independent.
yeah.
Then they wanna be a kid again once they're an adult.
Exactly.
Alright.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of trauma our kids are going through. Like, I wonder the kid that you said was in juvie and he was nice and then he got out of juvie, like, was it being re-traumatized and being back home and that instability?
Mhm.
Like, I wonder, did it have anything to do with that versus was he just knowingly just trying to get out and that's why he was being nice? But
I think he was just knowingly trying to get out.
oh, you do think?
Yeah. I think he was knowingly just trying to get out and just playing a role. Then once he got out, also, influences plays a lot. A lot of
Yeah.
these kids sometimes they get around the wrong peers,
Yeah.
and the wrong peers living a life that isn't productive. The peers might be living that gang life.
Mhm, mhm,
And then he gets caught up into it and he may not really be about it, and but just he's just searching for
mhm.
family and belonging.
Yeah, yeah. Now, how do kids come to see you? Is it because you see everyone that's in juvie, or they can find you no matter where they are? Parents come reach out. How did they get on your caseload?
So I'm contracted through different mental health agencies,
Okay.
and usually either juvie or a mother, right? They'll be referred, and
Uh-huh.
so they'll be referred to me. The mental health agencies are just an umbrella. It's just an umbrella I work under.
Gotcha.
So also through word of mouth as well.
Mhm.
I've worked with different nonprofits, the businesses that I share my information with. So the
Mhm.
mother will contact me and I will proceed to get them set up
Mhm.
through these mental health agencies. That way we can conduct everything. That way we get a treatment plan. We know how to address it. If they're in need of resources, clothing and food pantries, or job opportunities, I'm able to connect them to those resources as well.
Gotcha. And so do you basically see them in their home, virtually? Do you have an office?
Both. I see them in their homes.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll do home visits face to face, but most of the time it is virtually just like how we're doing right
Yeah.
now through Zoom.
Exactly. That's awesome. Were there situations where you've been in the home and you literally had to, like, calm someone down or destabilize them because they were in a crisis? Like, does it get that like that?
Early on,
Mhm.
when I first started, some homes some homes they had too much going on. I remember when I first started, this mother was counseling her 9-year-old son,
Mhm.
and she had all her other kids running around. She will be in the back of the home with some dude, and after the
Wow.
session was over, I try to get her to come out for I could brief her on it.
Exactly.
She just kind of wasn't really into it, you know.
Wow.
She I guess from her perspective, she thought this was me just talking to the child, and it was, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of parents don't realize that it's certain things that you're doing to contribute to the behaviors of that child too. You can't call us to come in and save the kid without us addressing some things with you, but a lot of adults are too stuck in their ways there, and a lot of them don't want to hear it. And then the ego comes.
Mhm.
So that's a barrier. So
Huge barrier.
yeah, yeah, that's a huge barrier.
And it's
So
not that you're, so to speak, saying at fault. I like your choice of words. There's some ways that the parents contribute to it, with the
yeah,
environment. They contribute to what's going on with their kid. So, like family sessions, family therapy, those things are necessary.
exactly, exactly, and I do that too with the mother or the father,
Mhm.
right? We both have a dialogue about such and such child, the behaviors, some different methods, different approaches.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a tough job that we're in, tough field. Would you say you have mostly success stories, or
Okay.
it's kinda like mostly the opposite, where it's like,
No,
"Oh, I don't really feel like I'm doing much," because sometimes we can get in a rut, we can start to get burnt out when that happens
yeah,
or get the compassion fatigue, but, I mean, do you have success stories, or it's like mostly the other way around?
yeah, yes, I do have success stories. So most most of the kids that do work out, most of the kids
That's
and the
good.
mothers, they they see the benefits of it, and they end up really just having me kind of mentor their child all the way to their child is grown. I have some mothers that's been sticking with me for 5 years, right? And I've attended their children graduation, and they just overall see the benefits, and the child has really developed, especially some of the cases where the child has autism,
Mhm,
or maybe living with some type of challenge, some type of
mhm.
mental challenge.
Yeah, exactly, that can be difficult, and you kinda help as the glue to get them in to see a therapist or psychiatrist when needed?
Hmm.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes.
So for people who are watching who may not have a peer specialist and may not, be in treatment and just still really like the obstacle of stigma gets to them. I mean, what can you say to them as far as how they can deal with their angry teen or how that angry teen can, help deal with what's going on in their triggers?
Okay. I'll first say to them, contact resources. Try to seek resources. We reach outside help. Our elders always said it took a village to raise a kid.
Mhm. Yeah.
We got away from that because of, oh, I don't like what such and such believe in. I don't like I don't like what car they drive, blah, 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 blah. All these insignificant really factors, right?
Mhm.
But now we're understanding that we got to get back to that. We got to get
Yeah.
back to that tribe. So, one, taking the pride out of this.
Mhm.
Your child is going to have so many different teachers in their lives,
Mhm.
so many different influences. If that other person is an influence, they're a teacher,
That's great. Yeah.
whether good or bad. So the child's going to have that. So you have to make sure that you connect with resources to where you are able to put as much positive
Mhm.
influences as possible. So you
Exactly.
can really connect with your resources by getting involved in your city events, right? It's a lot of community events going on. Also, looking at different networks, right?
Mhm.
Different networks of community resources that provides clothing, foods, houses. Nines out of 10, they have things that provide for counseling, for
Mhm.
mental health, for mentoring.
That's awesome.
So that's where I'll tell the parents to start first.
Exactly. The resources so they can get help because a lot of parents feel like they need to be doing it on their own or they should be doing it on their own and then they just put it on themselves, but it's okay to reach out for help and that's what all this is about, us talking about it so people can realize, "Oh, okay. They're out here helping people. Let me go get that help." So
Exactly.
that's some good stuff. Yeah. So when it comes to being young, black, and angry, we've got a lot of angry teens. They don't want to go to school. They don't want to reach out for help. They hate their parents. There's been a lot of trauma, whether it's being abandoned by a parent or, depression or losses or whatever is going on. In general, how do you help work through with a teen, how to get through that anger?
By teaching them coping skills.
Yeah.
One thing is, I notice with a lot of the teens, they're quick to react. They don't slow down.
Yep.
So getting them in the habit to slow yourself down, taking more deep breaths instead of shallow breaths. We
Yeah.
take a lot of shallow breaths. When we take shallow breaths, we're not fully getting all the oxygen in our bodies. But when we
Correct.
take a deep breath, we're able to be more relaxed, calming down. And when you calm down, your mind is able to, it works
Think.
faster,
Yeah.
it works more efficiently. So that's one.
Mhm.
Two, letting them see the consequences of it, letting them think long term. They
Mhm.
think short term. And that's even with some adults. A lot of our people think short term instead of long term.
Mhm.
They need to see, think about the consequences of their actions. So
Right.
if you do this,
And
and if you want to be an established rapper,
Mhm.
do you think you getting into trouble in the law, do you think that will hinder your rap career? How can you go on tour or perform here and here if you're in juvie? Yeah, you might get more street cred, right?
There
But
it is.
is that really going to benefit you when you're a
Yeah.
grown adult? So
But
getting them
how
to really think and
yeah.
process.
And how does that work? Like, how do we get them? Because that street cred is huge, and then you've got,
Yeah.
in the media, the rappers who do things, get themselves killed, and they become more famous because they died. And so then you have those kids who are looking after that like, "Oh, I don't care if I go to jail. I don't care if I die because I'll be famous anyway." So, how do we combat that?
So we combat that by just giving them education,
Yeah.
letting them know, hey, a lot of these record deals, I mean, a lot of these record labels, they have an insurance policy. So
Mm,
when you die as a rapper, right, all that money that you have created goes to them instead of your mom, instead of your family. So yes, you might be famous,
right.
but your loved ones are suffering. Your loved
Mhm.
ones are not getting any money. And how can you celebrate that being famous, being known for your work when you're gone?
Exactly.
What
That's
so,
good.
having them really think that, having them really sit down, process, we talking face to face and showing examples.
Mhm.
Showing examples has been one of the biggest things. I have a lot of other brothers. I have a lot of other brothers. I got a brother who has an organization called One More Question, named
Okay.
Dr. Barber. He did 10 years in prison, so he's a living example. I got another brother named I'm a Father First, Keith Lewis. His organization, he also been in prison. So I connect them to also
Love
talking to
it.
real brothers that lived that prison life for them to let them know, like, hey, so you think going to jail is cool, but you going to jail and you got people fighting over your booty.
Mhm.
Is that something that you want? And no matter how hard you is, it's hard to fight off 5 dudes that is trying to get in your booty.
Exactly. Let's be
Is that
real.
what you really want?
Hopefully
Is
not.
that what you really want?
Yeah, you gotta be real. And
Yeah.
especially with, like, the baggy pants. Like, I was always told that baggy pants came from way back when people were in prison and they wanna show like, "Oh, yeah, I want some." So they and then we got people, like, sagging just to look cool, and they don't really realize that.
Exactly. And that's because of the trend. And when we
Mhm.
provide the education, a lot of them may still do it. Cause hey, I'm not gonna lie. When I was young, I did it,
Mhm.
right? Someone
Mhm.
provide the education, but I still wanted to be accepted. So that's where we
Yeah.
then start touching on being the individual. Being cool is being you, being the individual.
Yeah.
We're using examples like, hey, a lot of the popular guys that that was school, that was clowning around and doing this and that, they're not really doing too much.
Correct.
And a lot of those quiet, nerdy guys that got picked on, a lot of them doing big things now. A lot of them
Exactly.
doing big things, big things.
Yep. Yep, that's so true. So it's like,
Yeah,
what are you gonna do? So it's that motivational interviewing that we have to do in order to kinda meet them
yes,
where they are. It's like, what do you wanna do? And then just hold on to that. Because it's the cases that are hard are the ones who are like, "Nope, I don't wanna do anything in life. Nope, I wanna get in trouble. Yeah, I'd rather be in jail." That kinda thing. It's like, but everyone has a motivator. Somebody's, they're motivated by something. So
yes. And for those kids that's really gun ho about it, it
mhm.
just takes for the kids that where they're really being that hard headed. Then it takes the lesson. Takes the lesson for them to be in Fulton County Jail and being in those conditions for them to see that.
Yep. Yep, just experiencing it. Some people learn by just being told, or seeing somebody else, but then some people have to learn by experiencing it. It's just the
Exactly.
way it is. Now, I know you have a social media talk coming up in a couple weeks on July 24th about how social media affects. I don't wanna, like, give any spoiler alerts as to what might be talked about then, but can we talk quickly about, like, how social media affects the mental health or even just feeds into that anger that our young kids may have?
So hey, I definitely don't mind. I definitely don't mind giving some of giving some of
Mm.
the tips. But our kids now, they social media a lot of times is an illusion.
Mhm.
People only post the good times.
Yep.
People only post them stunting. People only post them when everything's doing good,
Yep.
right? So a lot of our youth get caught up in that. So our event is talking about digital detoxification, learning how to
Mm.
not be so much involved in the social media, right? Because even I myself, I'm a content creator. I create content to promote the mental health, but I also know that most of my success lies in forming genuine relationships, face to face conversations, rather
Yeah.
than likes and follows and stuff like that. You
Correct.
know, so um, for the kids that get angry and upset, they get triggered because they're always on it. Then when you're strolling down through these different reels, different sounds, the sounds affects our minds.
Yes.
Sometimes it might be someone hollering in an
Mhm.
argument situation. That could give PTSD.
Mhm.
That might trigger a kid's PTSD. If the
Yeah.
kid I mean, if the kid's been diagnosed with it, but just strolling through different reels, it's like going to different worlds, different concepts, different ideas, and your mind is taking all this information at an
Absorbing
accelerated
it.
rate, and it doesn't have time to process all that.
Wow.
Doesn't have time to process all that. And what it ends up doing is it could sometimes it could create some anxiety,
Mhm.
but you might turn on that wrong post
Yeah.
to where it might be someone getting deleted or something like that.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
Um, so when it comes to the social media and how it affects our mental health, it does it in a lot of ways. And that's what we're going to talk about in that event and how to
That's awesome.
unplug from it,
Right. That's
especially for my
good.
young youth who are content creators, letting them know, like, hey, it ain't all about these likes and follows, man.
Exactly.
It really
Exactly.
not. Yeah. Some people deal with some slight depression because, oh, I'm not getting a lot of likes and follows, this and that.
Exactly.
And it's like, man, go out in the world. Go out in the world, talk to people, shake some hands.
Mhm. You have to
That kid,
already have that self-worth, that self-love about
yes.
you. And I was talking to some teen females a couple months ago, and, I was telling them, like, I'm a content creator, I promote mental health and all that, but I could care less about the likes and the follows. I get happy that I have like, oh, I got 10 views on this video. That's enough because then I feel like I've reached somebody. But one of the teens, she said, well, does it define you? So that's the key. It's
Mm,
okay to post. It's okay to do those things, but ask yourself, does it define you? Does that like and follow define who you are? And that's the problem with some of these teens out here or anybody where they might get depressed or anxious or stressed when they don't have enough likes is because it defines them. It makes them know that they're accepted and there's something or they have a purpose because they went viral. So that's the thing. Don't let it define you. And fill that void if the social media is what defines you, because that is not the way to go.
Zach, that was key to what you said about the define.
Mhm.
It, and one message I want to lead to a lot of the young content creators, and this is what you also tapped on too.
Yeah.
Post the content that represents you. Is that truly how you want to be represented? I always make sure, is that how you want to be represented? Because your page, what it is it could be it could be a digital resume.
Mhm.
My social media is a digital resume of some of my adventures,
Mhm.
some of the events I've spoken to, some
Yep.
of the seminars I've been, and just
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah.
So, and it's all positive and a reflection of me. Some are
Mhm.
motivational, some are funny, some are me just telling real life stories.
Yeah. Your brand. That's pretty much
That's
what we're
that.
talking about here. Yeah, find out your brand. Because I mean, I found my brand late. I didn't know that I could have a brand for some reason. I was just like working for Morehouse School of Medicine, and they're like, "What's your brand? What's your website?" I'm like, "I just work for them. What do you mean?" And after I left them, I started to come into my own brand and create myself, Doctor Enjoy podcast and things like that. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's what this they were talking about." So yeah, that's what our teens need to do, or everybody. Having your brand and what's that thing that you could do for free, and that's your purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. And that's
and try to
beautiful.
get paid for it. That's the key. That's the stop. We're doing it for free. You gotta get paid for it somehow.
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Awesome. Great. So I'm glad we were able to touch on that because that's just huge. Our kids out here. And then you mentioned conflict resolution. You mentioned the different types of health as well. As far as finances, what kind of things do you get into with them about that? Because I didn't they don't teach us stuff like that in school, taxes and finances and things like that. So how do you do that?
Yeah. So everything from those 6 areas is things from my own experience. My
Mm,
dad taught the importance of saving for a rainy day. My dad used to always say this saying, man. And when I was young, I'm like, oh my gosh, dad, come on, man. Stop with all these things. But I see the value in it
yes,
now.
you
He said,
do.
an ounce of what is it? An ounce of prevention is a pound of cure.
Ooh, all right.
So when it comes to the finance standpoint, now I'm not no finance guru, but I'm
Right, I
just
said the
teaching them
same thing.
things that you would think that the family is teaching them, but sometimes it doesn't. So
Mm-mm.
the importance of saving, not spending all your money, saving, investing, talking to them about different stocks. I'm not no stock guru, but just letting them know about the idea. Hey, it's this thing called stocks that other people have been invested into for years, and years later they became rich off.
Wow.
So, so it might be a kid that's into Jordans. Hey,
Mhm.
how about you check the Nike stock?
Mm.
So when you buy that pair of Jordans, instead of buying the second pair, how about you use that for some Nike stocks?
Mm. Exactly.
And just starting from the things that they're like, hey, you like the game.
Mhm.
So if you like gaming and you like the PlayStation 5, you got a Sony. How about you think about investing in Sony? How about you
Wow.
some money into that? So simple things,
That's good.
investment, also teaching them, hey, you know how a lot of wealthy people become wealthy? They invest in things that generate
Yes,
money. So
exactly.
I know you like to get lit. I know you like to go to parties, but what if you was able to get a building
Mhm.
and rent out a building and host a party there and everybody pays $10 and you're able to rent the building for cheap.
There it is.
That's another stream of income. So that's where I'm talking about
Making them
in
think.
regards to finances. Yeah, just to get them thinking about these different things that they can use for different sources of income.
Oh, that's good. And you mentioned earlier you stick with the mothers, the mothers, the mothers, which makes me think that there's no fathers in a lot of the kids' lives that you work with.
Yeah.
So they need to hear that from you.
Yeah. And majority 90% of the kids I mentor don't have an active father in their lives.
Yep.
And really, people could say it's the ADHD, it's the depression, it's all these mental diagnoses, but I really believe all this just stems from not having that positive masculine energy in their lives.
I agree.
That's simple.
It's huge.
That's majority it. If you just had an active father in there, it'll be a huge reduction in all the mental health illnesses and all that.
That's the key, prescribing a father.
Yeah.
Yep. And because the majority of the patients I see are by single moms or grandmas raising these kids, and then they're angry and they feel abandoned by their bio dad. That's usually the case. Of course, there's if they're being raised by the grandmothers, the bio mom that they're, angry at. But yeah, I agree. That's at the root of it. So, having people like you, peer specialists or counselors or some type of male figure can help that. But, we definitely can't, find the father and make the father be in the life. Or if the father's passed away, there's only so much we can do. But that's why it's really great to have male role models like yourself.
Exactly. So the role models could then fit in. And yeah, we may not be able to fully fit in the role of a father, but we could fill the role of a big brother or uncle.
Yeah.
That in itself makes a really big impact.
Mm-hmm. It sure does. Well, thank you so much. So I call this Journey to Joy Live, and I ask all my guests, what's your journey to joy been like?
My journey to joy has been illuminating, elevating, but also highly self-reflective.
Ooh, I love that. And I put you on the spot too. That sounded great.
Highly and some of the things that caused me to be highly self-reflective was rough experiences.
Mhm.
The homelessness
Oh yeah.
started the whole journey. That started my awakening to my stage to who I am now.
That rock bottom.
Yeah, that rock bottom. It was the hardest moments ever in my life, but I
Mhm.
wouldn't take it away because it made me more of a man. It put the hustle in me, the ambition. It directed me towards this field to my purpose. And now I'm living my purpose. And that's the
Mm,
joy in my journey that I am living
that's
my
nice.
purpose. educating, motivating, elevating our youth to their greatest versions of themselves for them to become Super Saiyans.
That's awesome. And it created resilience in you. And it just shows that you can go through challenges and come out. And so, no one's perfect. So telling your story like that is fantastic because people need to hear that and say, oh, look at him. You can do it. So I really appreciate you, Lightworker Wayne, for coming on Journey to Joy Live. Thank you so much.
Hey, I appreciate it as well. And on a count of three, we can all say, hey, let's get it. Three, hey, let's
Let's
get it.
get it.